So this video I'm going to show you how to put your stitches back on your needle correctly once you've got them off. So just say for some reason you had to pull out and you were pulling back and you've got all of these live stitches sitting here. Now quite often I'm showing you now in very big wool that's also very catchy, so it's not perhaps the best wool to show you. These stitches are going to stay perfect, so it's going to be very easy for me to put my stitches back on. But sometimes with your knitting, it's just best to stick your needle in as fast as possible anyway, just so that the stitches aren't going to run and cause ladders. And then as you knit, you can correctly put the stitch on the right side. So if all's going well, like mine here, you simply just get the tip of your needle and put it through like this. And that's going to end up perfectly. But just say you've got more difficult, finer knitting or whatever, and so you've got your stitches sometimes twisted, sometimes right. So I'm going to put mine back in a higgledy-piggledy fashion. Okay. I'm going to show you how to recognize when the stitch is not right or not put back correctly and what you can do about it. So I've put those stitches back on my needle. Oh, here's another stitch. And now I'm going to continue to knit, and I have to recognize, is the stitch I'm about to knit correctly on the needle? So for a knit stitch, we're wanting the front loop to be slightly more to the right than the left loop. So like this, so like my fingers. So the front loop is slightly more forward than the back loop. So this one, as you can see, is right. So I'm just going to knit it normally. Now this one is twisted. This one's twisted right around. And you can see at the base, there's a twist. So if you're not sure, is it twisted? Is it back the front? What is it? Just start slipping it between both needles, and then you can see, there it is. I'm going to put it back on, and this way I can see it's correct because the right loop, or the front loop here, is slightly more forward than the back loop. So now it's fine and I can knit it. So you just play around with your stitches, slipping them from one needle to the other, until you can understand what it is. Now this one is a good one. The front loop here is slightly more forward than the back, so I'm going to knit it. This one's looking tight and funny, so I'm going to slip it onto this needle. And I'm going to say, okay, that's how it's meant to be. So I'm going to slip it back, and I've done it right. Okay, you could have also had it this way, turned around like that, and you can see here that the front loop is further back than the back loop, so it's a bit like this, and we want it like this. Okay, so if you find a stitch like that, what you can do, you can keep sort of doing this until you get it right, whoopsie, or you can figure that this part has to come forward, so this time if I knit into the back loop, I'm going to make it correct. That might be a little bit difficult for a complete beginner, but experiment around. So this one is right. The front loop is slightly forward. So I knit it, and this one's also right. The front loop is slightly forward. And this one's tight, I can see that immediately, and if I poke around I can see it's twisted. So I put it onto the right hand needle just by putting it on like that, and if I put it back like this I can see I'm going to make it so that it's a clean loop and the front loop is slightly forward, so I knit it. This one's right. And this one's also right. You can see when I pull around, I always use the tips of the needles to poke around and see what's going on. So you can see this is very clear. The back loop here is backwards. It's like a little pair of legs walking, like that. And the front loop is forward. So that's perfectly ready for me to knit. This one's twisted, and you can see it's tight. And if I poke around in here, you can see the twist there. So I'm going to put it onto the right hand needle, put it back on this way, and I've got it the right way. See? Front loop is forward. Oh, I've got another tight one. There I go. Front loop is forward. Front loop is forward, and that's also good.